Right, mate. Right, mate.
Okay, evening one and all.
Evening.
So should we go straight into business? Apologies for absence. Well, we're all here, so there's no apologies. Variations of order of business. Does anybody want to vary the business? No. Okay. Are there any declarations of interest?
No.
No. Receive and if appropriate approve requests for dispensations. Are there any? No.
No.
Okay. Which agenda items do we feel should be in part 2, if any? None. Take that as a none.
None, yeah.
You muted yourself, Tony.
Oh, I thought I'd unmuted myself.
You have now, but you'd muted us all, including yourself, before.
Oh. Stand by, that might happen again.
Makes it exciting.
Okay, there's no public speaking. Minutes of the previous meeting. First of all, the council meeting by Zoom on the 6th of May. Would someone propose those, please?
Propose.
Thanks, David. And Eva seconded. All in favour? I think
Yeah.
a show of hands will do for that. Yep. Okay. And secondly, the Finance Committee of the 20th of May, which I wasn't present at.
Me neither.
You'll propose those, Jackie? And then seconded? Who else was present? David, thank you.
No.
All in favour? Those that were present? Yep. Great. Chair's announcements. Well, I've not been anywhere. I've not done very much, like most of us, I would think. I am missing the pub, if nothing else. The only thing that I'd like to say is that I'm very sorry that Jonathan has felt it necessary to resign. I think he was a very good councillor. He didn't say too much. He just spoke when it was relevant, and when he did speak, I thought it was always sensible. And I thought it might be a nice idea if we just wrote to him, thanked him for his contribution for the village, and wish him well, him and his family well for the future. I know that he has, family health problems, so I can understand why he's resigned. So, would everybody be happy if we spoke, if we wrote and just thanked him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Other than that, nothing else to. I've had a couple of emails regarding speeding in Little Hayfield, which I've notified the police about, and I know that Eva might take the opportunity later on in the meeting to talk about any other traffic issues. And lastly, I'd just like to thank, without detracting from the police and the emergency services, I think it's been great how the shops and everything from the shops to the waste collection, our bins are still getting emptied, and the people that have contributed to making life as normal as possible in the circumstances. So I think there's a lot of thanks to be shared around, and that's all I've got to say in my announcements. Andy, Clerk's report, which I know you've emailed to us all, is there anything you want to highlight or in particular bring our attention to?
No, not well. There's a couple of things.
I've inundated you with documents to approve later on. Thanks to those who've sent me a few alterations and spotted some minor errors. These are, as I said, the product of the internal audits, and a lot of them are in the main to do with data protection and GDPRS. So it's probably better to take questions about them when we get to the documents. I was glad we got through the audit. And the next item on the agenda was one of the problems I had, and the reason that is on the agenda is to make everything straight, transparent, and above board. I've also mentioned that I will duplicate some financial reporting from the Finance Committee later on. The only thing I wanted to ask yourselves, and I don't really think it needs a resolution, but like your approval, is I did send you a photograph of a display, an NHS key worker appreciation piece done in the style of a well dressing that's currently on Swallow House Lane. And I did have a queries, would we like to display it in the centre of the village? It's not going to be there forever, so I'm not looking for scaffold licenses. It will not breach any borough by the side of the pavement type guidelines. I thought about putting it behind the bench adjacent to the storeroom. And a bit like saying, can I put a load of bunting up or can I raise the flag? I thought I'd look for your permission, Chair.
I think that's a great idea. What does anybody else think? I'm seeing one or two thumbs up. Yeah, I think we're unanimous that that's a good idea.
Okay, if you've got any questions other than the policies I'm going to put to you and item number 10 that's coming up, please ask away now.
Has anyone anything for Andy other than what we have later in the meeting? No? Okay. Andy, will you take us into item 10? I know you've again emailed us about this.
Yeah. Valley Road Bridge, a project going back to 2018. You told me the history of it. As the bike track on the Valley Road was being built, it became apparent that the bridge, the concrete bridge across, wouldn't handle the weight of plants. It needed bolstering, and to keep maintaining the bike track, etc., the decision was taken to replace the bridge. And a lot of the processes were followed perfectly well. You went out for tender, those of you who are still here. Mr. Hudson offered best value for the bridge, and then there was an idea to make it more of a feature for the village with decorative panels, and you minuted the decision to take Mr. Hudson on, you minuted the decision to take an artist on at a certain cost, and then minuted the increase in that cost. And it was quickly recognised that by putting decorative panels on, there would be an increase in that original estimate, and that is minuted and documented. Where we fall slightly short is the original £22,000 potential cost of the whole project leaped 27,000 for last year's budget. Now, fortunately, that's minuted, it's in the budget, but we don't say why there was that jump. The logic is it was contingency plans, which is absolutely fine, we'll pass an auditor, etc. But what we don't have minuted was the decision to create a number of decorative plaques representing the community groups and significant groups in the village. And there's a series of email trails that make it clear that the parish council have made a commitment to those groups that if they cannot afford the plaques or cannot make the full payment for the plaques, then the parish council would make up the shortfall. There is also a commitment in email by the Secretary of the Civic Trust that they would also like to make up that cash shortfall. The issue I have in front of the auditor was that decision was never minuted. So the payments made to Lewis Howes last year didn't have a backing authorization behind it. So the solution really is to make the current progress towards of cost and progress for the bridge transparent, minuted today. So I sent you another attachment, which was sort of the expenditure. And if you go through it, there it is at the top. And you may remember this document titled HPC Meeting Agenda Item 620, number 10. In 2019 to 20, the budget for the entire bridge was £27,000. I'm not talking VATs to one side. This is the final cost once VATs climb, excluding VAT. We made part payment to Mr. Hudson, £10,000. There'll be another payment due later. We paid the exact figure that was authorised to the design service, £500. The decorative panels, it was expected there would be creep. Mr. Hudson and the designer said these will go up in cost. They came in at 7,552. And there's the issue invoice, which is 18 plaques to Lewis Howes, 2,469. So we finished the year having spent £20,521.60. We expect this year, when the bridge finally goes in, to make the second payment to Mr. Hudson, well, we will be, of £10,000. And give Mr. Hudson his credit, he hasn't budged an inch on that price, despite having given it almost 2 years ago. So we see a final anticipated cost of £30,521.60, which is, as you can imagine, that is 3,000 overspend, which sounds horrible. But here's the unknown. How much of the Lewis Howes plaque payment are we going to get back, and how much will the Civic Trust take up? And that I can't tell you. So worst case scenario, you have a £3,500 overspend. Best case scenario, that goes down to literally maybe 1,000, maybe less. So that's where we stand. It crept, we knew it was creeping. And you're wondering, what have I done about the unknowns? I've emailed the artist to tell her, please, ASAP, go through all the emails. How many groups have committed to payment? How many have committed to part payment? What's the shortfall? And then we enter into discussion with the Civic Trust and minimise the overspend as much as possible. So what I ask for you today is a resolution reaffirming what was stated back in the back end of 2018, that the Parish Council will take up the costs for the community groups who cannot afford to pay in full or can only part pay for the commemorative plaques. And all these figures will go into the minutes and they will be transparent to anyone in the parish who wishes to see them. So, Chair, I wonder if you could take that vote for me.
Okay, has anyone anything that they want to ask Andy about that? Jackie? I can't hear you, Jackie, you're muted.
Should be.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, slightly distracted there. What was environ paid 7,000 something for?
Those were the design and creation of the side panels that will host the packs. These are the decorative panels that at the point when Mr. Hudson received acceptance of his quote for the physical bridge, and the decision was made to make it a feature, he stated that will be the increase in cost, will be environ. Do you remember a big sheet I brought in for you?
So the plaques themselves are relatively inexpensive compared with
they
that.
range from under 100 to 150, but have come up to 2,500, and there are still some to be made, and that we'll have to be careful.
Okay.
There's 18 already made. I can't believe there are that many more holes to be filled on that bridge.
Okay. Thank you.
Does anyone else want to comment? Has anyone got a proposal then? Okay. Well, in that case, I'll make it. I propose that we accept the figures as detailed by the clerk, and that negotiations are ongoing to reduce our potential liability of how much is it exactly, Andy? 3,000?
At the moment, it's £3,521.60.
Right. And negotiations continue to reduce our current liability of £3,521.60p. Is that good enough? Dave's seconding that. All in favour, would you just show your hands? It's be easy. David, I can't see. Dave Gates, I can't see. Yeah. Okay, that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 11, planning. Has anyone any comments about HPK 2020 0173 12 Meadows Road, Hayfield?
No, it looks fine.
No objection.
No objection.
No objection.
No objection.
So it sounds as though it's unanimously felt that that the council has no objection.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. Item 12, councillor vacancy. Again, Andy sent us particulars. Has anyone any comment on it?
It's a
We
difficult
can't have an
time.
election before 2021.
Oh, right.
Sorry, Chair, can I just?
Yes, please do.
I spoke to Mark Trullo, the proper officer for HPBC, put me onto their elections office. They're quite happy for us to post the notice stating we have a vacancy. If the proper officer does not receive the requisite 10 electors, then we may proceed with co-option. If he does receive the 10 electors request for an election, then as stated in their pro forma, that election will be put on ice until at least the 6th of May 2021. So if you wish to fill the vacancy, you may proceed with the notice and you will have the option for co-option if the request for an election doesn't take place. That's your legal position. Have to post the notice.
Okay, Jackie.
It's a difficult time for public notices, isn't it?
Yeah.
There are going to be a lot of people that don't see them. It's just something that struck me.
Dave Toft, is that your hand up, or are you just playing with your pen?
Both, Tony. Yeah, what's the alternative altogether, Andy? Are we compelled to go through the process, or can we ourselves decide to leave it for the time being?
You can leave it. It's for yourself. You have to notify the borough if you wish to proceed, which is all the boroughs said to me. The election office said, if you're going for it, you do the form, you post it, and we want you to post it on a notice board, but mainly on your website. Notify and then send them the completed notification, so they're ready.
Kath, sorry, Dave. Do you want to come back? Sorry, come back.
I'll come back if that's okay. But so what we could propose to leave it and review it in say 12 months' time, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Kath.
Sorry, my question's just been answered about where it would be posted on the website and on the Hayfield notice board. So
Okay,
fine.
Lisa. Lisa?
I think leave it for now. I think we should leave it for now until things are more clear what's going to happen.
Eva? Eva?
Yeah, I think it should be left because it can't be advertised as it should be.
Okay, so shall we revisit it in the autumn, say the October meeting?
Good idea.
Okay, well, I'll propose that then, Tony, that we review the situation in October.
Okay. Somebody second
I'll
that?
I'll second that.
Okay, thanks,
I'll
Lisa.
second it.
All in favour? Could you just raise your hands? Dave Gates, you in favour? Yes, his hand's gone up. All right. That's unanimously agreed then that we address it again in October. Thank you. Andy, back to you. Tennis court.
Yeah, you'll all be aware the public health regulations were adjusted to allow for court sports, including tennis courts, a couple of weeks back from the 13th of May, well, actually. On that date, it was that you could have doubles matches between people from the same family, but you can only have singles matches from people from a different family. That all changed again this weekend. Anyway, cut to the chase. Our tennis courts may open with suitable advice posted outside, and I ask you to give me permission to open up the tennis courts, provided we adhere to the public health regulations.
And you will put up new signs every week as the
every day. Laminator with full blast, yeah.
Between sets, Tony.
Yeah, I'm looking at it's just.
Kath.
Somebody was using them actually when I passed, using they were having a game of tennis when I passed the other day, and I didn't check. I assumed they'd been opened. I didn't check for a poster, but they're not open yet, are they not? So I
No,
can.
we've got a net, so there'd be an unusual game of tennis because the net's in the storeroom.
They had bats and balls or whatever you call them on a
Yeah,
tennis
it was
court.
the same as
I'm not
it was
very
the same as
sporty.
our playground. We said the services withdrawn, obey the law, but we haven't got the facilities to put chains across everything.
Right.
Lisa,
I think we should open it tomorrow and put the net up. People are going to start using it anyway. So put the notice up.
I forgot to say, I did check that this wouldn't place any undue stress on the post office staff who take the bookings, and is it Amber was more than happy for them to start as of tomorrow if we just tip them the wink.
so is that a proposal, Lisa?
Yeah.
I'll
Yes,
second it.
that's my proposal.
Mick, you had your hand raised.
I'll second that, Tony.
Okay. Has anyone else got anything to say? All in favour then, please? Are you in
I'm going
favour,
to
Eva?
abstain.
Can't
I'm
see.
not sure.
I'm sorry, Kath.
I'm going to abstain from
Okay,
voting.
you're
I'm
going to
not sure.
abstain.
Yeah.
Right. So we've 8 in favour and 1 abstention. Thanks. Just for a change, Andy, summer plant order. You've sent us the invoices for payment. Anything else to add to?
Yeah, what's happened there is, as usual, we've used our preferred supplier from a commercial supplier, very good value, Mr. Ross. But as with a lot of commercial suppliers, they can't fulfil the orders as we would want because the stock just isn't there. So the gardeners and Chris has basically had to go around commercial and other premises to try and get what we need. And looking at what we've got, I'm going to ask for a variation on the authority you gave me last month. You gave me an authority to purchase the summer plants up to £1,000. At the moment, I'm going to be conservative and ask for a leeway to spend 1,300. I actually believe I'm going to spend 1,100. So I just want to be careful. So what you've got there are some part invoices for where he's been shopping around, and at the moment we are well under the 1,000. But by the time we complete the orders, the main problem has been the hanging basket type of plants, which, in my opinion, look very good in the village. So I ask you to propose to give me the ability or the authority to spend up to. I'm not saying I will spend it up to 1,300, as opposed to the 1,000 you authorised last month.
Eva.
I propose we do that.
Second.
I second that. Yeah. They look glorious. The hanging basket things, the ones on the posts in the centre of the village. They look stunning.
Okay. Anyone else? Any comment? No. In that case, all those in favour? Right. That's carried unanimously. Bank Vale land, the football pitch. Do you want to speak about that, Mick?
Yeah, basically, Tony, this is in regard to during the lockdown over the last 4 or 5 weeks, particularly since the restrictions have been eased slightly, Bank Vale has been Carl cut the pitch, etc., and it's all the goalposts were up, and we've had an awful lot of people using Bank Vale. In addition to that, as everybody knows, Bank Vale's used regularly for people walking their dogs, etc. And we've also had fathers and sons going out there and playing games with their kids, etc. Because mostly the scenario has been locally based and people haven't been going out of the village much. In consequence to that, we've had quite a litter problem over at Bank Vale. And I know Carl himself and Jane Beasley, who I know Lisa knows well, and people like that have been going around with bin liners clearing it. What I'd like to ask the council tonight is permission for Andy, I've discussed this with Andy, to transfer, well, there's 2 parts to this essentially. The first one initially is to provide a wheelie bin, maybe move it from another part of the village, and for Chaz, the new worker on the council, to be given permission to empty it once a week, and that just as an interim period. But on a more permanent arrangement, I'd like for the the council to provide a bin that's split into recycling and standard rubbish, so that we can put it over there on a permanent basis. And Andy, I believe, is going to find out the cost of that, and I'll put it to the council next time. As you know, as I say, I feel that although it's a football club, it's also a massive community asset, the actual Bank Vale area. And I feel that we should give it support, because it's such a wide expanse as well. It's not just the 2 football pitches, and it is quite widely used. So the council to support a motion whereby initially, as I say, we get Andy to move the bin and Chaz to empty it, but going forward, we have a more permanent arrangement in.
Eva, you've got
That's
your
my
hand up.
proposal.
Yeah, we've had lots of complaints. I've had emails and phone calls about the amount of people on there who aren't villagers. And they're even asking, it's been advertised on Facebook that they can meet there. And there's cars there at all hours. And my great concern from the people of Lee Road is we're going to end up with travellers on there. They're now on Fairfield. And they'll end up on there. I feel, and the residents feel down there, those gates should be locked for the safety of everybody.
Yeah, that's a separate issue, though, at least in a way. I mean, we can organise for the locking of the car would be amenable to that. But the bin itself is something I'd like us to consider.
Dave Gates.
Right. Yes, I think it's used an awful lot by villagers, actually. I mean, I live opposite, so I know it quite well. I'd also say on the litter side, there's quite a lot of litter in the playground now needs cleaning up as well. So I support the venture that Mick's talking about, very much so. As for locking it, how would you lock it? You see, there's 2 or 3 entrances anyway, aren't there?
This is the problem. But I mean, Lisa's right. You can lock the main gate, so that would, if there was, there is any danger of travellers coming there, but there are 3 or 4 entrances apart from that.
Oh, yeah. Been very well used last few weeks, very well used by local.
Okay, Dave Toft.
Yeah, a couple of things. They are 2 separate issues. Obviously, I think what Eva's saying is if we prevent at those sort of times vehicle access, that's one thing to stop travellers or whatever getting on there. But it is more than just a football club. It is a local resource. It is widely used. So I'd like to support the bins. Andy, can you give us some idea of cost?
Moving a wheelie bin down there, provided we don't lose it, and collecting that, what, £20?
Keep breaking up, Andy.
Sorry, can you hear me now? Is that better?
Yeah.
If we move there's a trick. It is got to be careful, because at the back of the office we have 6 black bins that take all the rubbish collected from around the parish, emptied once every 2 weeks.
Andy's breaking up.
Am I breaking?
I can hear him fine, Eva. It must be your connection.
It must be you.
Right.
We can hear you.
The cost of moving one wheelie bin, provided we don't lose it, and provided we don't have to buy another bin because there's too much rubbish, would be as simple as £20 a week. Say, overestimate 2 hours of Chaz's time. The more permanent bins, the recycle split bins, looking back, they look to be around £500 a shot, with the associated £20 a week collection. That's what I can give you so far, Chair.
I know Lisa's signal that she wants to come in. I don't object to the bins, but I'm not keen on a wheelie bin going down there, because I could just imagine it being trashed or tipped over at best. I have a concern about a wheelie bin, although I think it's a good idea to have a permanent bin down there. Lisa, you signalled you wanted to.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should have a proper bin down there. But I also agree about locking the gates for the vehicles, because they have been parking on there, and I don't think they are local.
They aren't.
Okay, so Sorry, I'll take Dave and then we'll move on. Dave Gates.
Just a question about the rubbish at the Lee Park playground.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that, Dave.
There's a rubbish bin in the Lee Park playground.
Well, I think that's a separate issue, though, isn't it? Is that not a separate issue?
Yeah.
Help me, somebody.
Did you say there is one in there, Dave, or it needs to be?
There is one right next to the playground, the football pitch, yes.
Well, in which case I'd suggest that the other one goes down by the where they keep the cutting equipment, etc., down that part of the field.
Yeah.
But that's something we can sort out.
Okay, very last one, Kath.
Thanks. Yeah, I'd support that. Exactly the same reasons. A wheelie bin, I think, could be a disaster. I think it would get knocked over. It might get nicked. I'd prefer a permanent one. I know it sounds a little pricey, but I think it'd be a good investment for the future if it's, you know, a sort of well-used public space. And certainly for the immediate future, people are not going very far afield. You know, the local amenities seem to be getting used more. We went down to Coombs Reservoir and there was quite a few people socially distanced, but I've noticed that the guy who owns it or runs it, manages it, said that his business is absolutely booming down there. It's never been so good because people can't get to Wales or get anywhere, particularly out of their area. So I think a bin would be an investment. It probably still won't stop the litter, but it'll help.
Okay,
I mean, a fixed bin, not a wheelie bin.
Yeah. So, Mick, what's your thoughts about amending your proposal so that we drop the wheelie bin but adopt the recyclable and the black bin element of it?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll go.
And could we say that also, as we're talking about waste collection, to minimise litter on the sites, the main entrance should be locked outside hours used by the football club?
Definitely.
Yeah, I'll say that.
Okay.
Tony,
What happens?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we can impose that, can we, as the council, or do we just have to request that to the club? I don't know.
Tony,
Eva.
Yeah.
Eva.
what happens if we get gypsies on there? Who will be the responsible people? Us or the football club on all these cars from away? Who will be responsible?
I don't know the answer to that unless anybody else does.
No.
Okay. Well, let's stick with the original.
Because, Tony,
Yeah, go on then, Eva.
I think it's a serious thing to leave that open like that, particularly at this time when there's people from all over coming up here. It's just asking for trouble.
Eva, we've just proposed to lock it.
Yeah, I think we've got a proposal, and we'll ask Andy to investigate locking it to minimising the. Okay, all those in favour of that double-edged proposal? Okay, everybody's unanimously agreed with that. Great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Defibrillator. Consider a provision of a defibrillator on New Mills roadside of the village.
A little bit of background, Chair. Oh, by the way, on the bins, just to make everyone feel okay, we had budgeted £1,000 for bins in this financial year, so that would fit quite nicely.
So can we do that as soon as we can, Andy?
Yeah, I should be able to find the orders filled ones. I'll consider that an authorisation to proceed because it's budgeted and then pass through finance. Sorry, the defibrillator. If you may pass your mind back to early on in the lockdown, there was some talk about, oh, could someone use the phone box, actually, that I'm looking at now on New Mills Road to consider it for a food bank, etc., etc. Then I received emails saying about defibrillators, and a couple of emails saying that we are well catered for with defibrillators in the village and at Little Hayfield, but there are no defibrillators on this bypass side of the village, which would be sort of your Wood Lane, where I am, and St John's side. And a person canvassing themselves from a proper firm, I discovered the prices being offered for units identical to one outside the George pub were all at cost and were less than £1,000, which was very good value. But the question is, would you consider another defibrillator on this side of the village? Sighting wise, the Hallam brothers, I spoke to one of them, he was favourable, citing this on their premises, and the Kinder Lodge licensee apparently may also be favourable, or I could consider going to the Royal Mail and acquiring another telephone box. So my question to you is, would you approve me researching another defibrillator?
Okay, there's Jackie, and then there's Kath, then there's Eva. Jackie.
Birch Vale is in our parish and is getting a bit left out. We're talking about a defibrillator outside the Grouse, only I think the Grouse has ended its days, as it were. But it would be a good place up there, somewhere near that old pub. Because we've already got at least 2 in the middle of the village.
That would be 2 if you included the one near Hallam's.
No, sorry,
Yeah.
we've 2 already.
We've got the George and we've got the parish
We've
council.
2 already, Tony.
I understand that, Eva. But if you're talking about one outside Hallam's and one outside the pub, that would be 2, is it not, Jackie?
No, I would propose Birch Vale in place of outside Hallam's.
Right.
Because it's way up the road and there's nothing up there.
Have I got a power source there, though? A disused phone box, a public house. I need a power source. You have to trickle charge, or we trickle charge them at the moment, which is why we've used pubs and phone boxes.
Okay.
They'll run off batteries.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I've got Kath first of all.
Yeah, I was going to ask that question about if it was in Birch Vale. It's probably a good idea in theory, but is there anywhere to, is there a power source? And the second question was, they're linked, can we organise some more training? I had some defibrillator. There's no point in having a load of defibrillators if nobody knows how to use them. I did have some training, but it was a couple of years ago now. I could do with a refresher course. And then we know who's equipped to use them.
Sorry, Chair, I have an offer of free training from this suppliers, but at the moment, in no contact, it's going to be a bit tricky, but one to bear in mind for the future.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Okay. Let's decide whether we're going to have one before we decide about our training. Eva.
I think it's a big good idea to have one down at Birch Vale, and I was going to ask Lisa if she got an idea for the drip for the electricity.
Right. Well, I'll come back to Lisa in a minute. She's had her hand up, but Dave Gates has had his hand up for a long while. Dave.
What about Set Valley Cafe? The Set Valley Cafe.
Yeah.
That's quite a good place to be, isn't it?
Yeah.
Free electrician as well. Good thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Handy. Yes.
Good
And
idea.
also it's near the Set Valley Trail as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very busy now. Very busy.
Yeah.
Lisa.
I actually do think it's a good idea to have one on the phone box near Hallam's, because anyone that end of the village, it's a long way to run down to the George when you're in a rush and you need a defibrillator. So I think we should have one there and perhaps then consider Birch Vale after that.
Okay. Right. Well, we've got a situation here where we have either have, well, not either or, but we could have none for the time being and investigate further. We have one either outside Hallam's or near the Set Valley Trail, or there's a proposition that we investigate having 2. So does someone make a proposal, and we'll see where it takes us.
Well, I'll propose that we investigate too, but that we do it in the reverse order, because I think Birch Vale is more out on a limb than Hallam's. So what I'd suggest is doing Birch Vale first and then come back to the idea of near Hallam's. I mean, I'd propose that. I think
I'll second that, Dave. Eva, have you got your hand up, or are you just covering your camera?
She's locked.
No. Does anybody else want to speak? I think she has locked, yeah. Does anybody else want to speak? Okay.
Sorry, can I just, had we better not talk to the lady who has the Set Valley Cafe before we start proposing to have a defibrillator?
We're talking about investigating at this stage.
Right,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
First of all, the Set Valley Trail, and then after that, the one at Hallam's,
Okay,
and bring
yeah.
it back, hopefully for next month, but we'll see how Andy goes for time-wise. Okay, that's been proposed and seconded. All those in favour? All those again? Oh yeah, Eva's that. Oh, that's carried unanimously.
No, it wasn't unanimous, Tony.
Sorry?
It wasn't unanimous, I don't think. Was it?
Lisa, is it?
Lisa and Jackie opposed it, I think.
No,
No, sorry, I thought your hand was up when he...
No,
no.
No.
I must have a
I think
delay.
I'm running a bit slow.
It looked like the hands went up when you said the second one.
No.
That's
Don't
okay.
cause in trouble, mate.
Right, so we're investigating them in that order. Hopefully, we'll bring them back to next month's meeting.
Right.
Okay. That was a trickier one than I thought it would be. Allotment right of way sign.
Me again.
Andy, would you talk
Yes.
us through that?
Yeah. At the bottom of our allotments is a stream. The allotments are regularly taking the water, and that stream is the boundary between the land owned by ourselves, where we place the allotments, and Platt Woods, which was a consideration of planning last month. It's being used, or people are creating stepping stone bridges to get across it, which is, well, not too dangerous at the moment when there's not been rain for 3 months, but there is no right of way there. And I'm simply asking permission from yourselves to erect a notice, not an instruction, as the insurance companies would not be happy with that, a notice simply stating there is no adopted right of way, which would cost me £20 or cost us £20 to do. And I think it sort of helps insurance well. Yeah, it's a declaration or a statement of fact, and that's the permission I'm after. And I've sought from the owners of Platt Woods whether they would do the same on their side. I think I've had about 3 emails about this crossing now.
Anyone want to say anything? I noticed a number of thumbs going up. Nobody wants to say anything. Lisa, can I take that as a proposal and Eva as a second?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, all those in favour?
Yeah.
That's carried unanimously. Thank you, Andy. And the council's policies and documents, which you forwarded, Andy.
Yes. Do you want me to go through?
Have you anything to say other than you wish them to be adopted?
I've made some alterations. Thank you for your observations. There have been some typos from you, Chair, and from Councillor Jones. They're all policies like any other policy that will require a regular review. And if anyone comes back to, I would simply say standing orders, a quick resume, standing orders, we needed a GPRS place putting in, complaints against the council to do with the decisions we make, grievance disciplinary policy, we need one, and everything else, website privacy, subject access, that's data protection. The asset register, Councillor Jones has pointed out several times to me, and I recognise there are issues with it, but it now passes the internal, hopefully the external audit. And a business continuity plan is a good thing to have, although having read it in more detail today, I suspect I'll be amending bits of it as the year goes on. Any questions, or you may go to vote.
Anyone have anything to say? No. Can I have a proposal that we accept those standing orders and procedures? Jack is set and Dave Gates is seconded. All in favour? Wonderful. That's carried unanimously. 19, HR panel. To consider the creation of a panel.
Yeah, this is for you to discuss, possibly more for a larger panel, is to have set and ready every year those councillors who will look into the implementation of the complaints, grievances, any form of recruitment and examination of those policies, excluding the chair, who's normally required for the second stage of grievance procedures. It is something you may want to do, or you may consider that the size we are, you would put such a panel together as and when the need arose. It is your decision. Over to you, Chair.
Okay, anybody got any comments or thoughts on HR panel? I haven't either. Go on, you lit up. Was there a reason for that, or did you just cough?
Lit up what?
It was as though you were speaking.
Oh,
okay.
Right. Sorry, no.
All right. Well, Andy, what's your view on it? I think most of us are sort of ambivalent.
Yeah, totally happy with it. Yeah.
Have we got a structure? Sorry, Chair. Sorry.
Yeah, Dave, go on then, carry on.
Have we got a structure already with now that we've adopted those to have an appeals procedure with the chair? I mean, we already have a panel in theory, and you're just asking us whether we want to set it up as permanent or as and when we need it, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm saying that the policies you've just adopted tell you how to what your panel should consist of, depending on what policy you're dealing with. You can either have one sat on the, excuse the expression, but on the shelf ready every year, or you can think, well, we meet regularly enough that we can create the requisite panel as and when we need. And it's the HR consultant to DALT has basically put it forward as this is an option for councils. Not saying you have to at all.
Lisa, your hands up.
Can I propose that we agree to set it up as and when we need it in the future?
Okay, that's a proposal. Jackie?
I'm seconding it, partly because you can avoid conflicts of interest and such like if you set it up knowing what the problem is.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's proposed and seconded. All those in favour? Okay, that's carried unanimously. I think we're deferring, by the conversation and the proposal, we're deferring electing members to it as and when, and conflicts of interest we'll make a decision then.
But you have minuted that you have considered the option, and that's
that's fine. Item 20, group reports. Are there? Well, there's nothing from Little Hayfield Advisory Group. Traffic management, Eva, have you anything to report on that?
Yeah, we had a meeting on Saturday night, which was interesting. I wrote the people who were there a leaflet of all my points. I'm mad to death with Kinder, and I can't get people to realise that things don't happen overnight. And the passing places are being planned now. But the latest thing is everybody in Kinder thinks they should have a yellow line in front of the house. And on Facebook and generally, they are complaining that the ambulances and the fire engines can't get through. Well, they can. We had an ambulance up here, we've had fire engines, and the situation is being monitored all the time. And I'm doing my best to get these passing places done quickly.
Mick.
Yeah, as Eva said, we had an excellent meeting on Saturday, me, Dave, Toft and Eva, and we discussed quite a number of issues, and I don't know if it's the right time to raise it, but there was a application or a memo sent regarding the walkers are welcome, and a lot of proposals they put to maybe we could consider. So me, Eva and Dave take a closer look at them, and Dave Toft I know suggested we elect some councillors to go on to this group that are going to become, I suppose you call it a pressure group. Dave will tell us a bit more about that, that are going to consider any traffic complications in the village and then recommend them back to the council, or the two representatives from the council can then report back to the council.
Okay,
Dave.
so we did have one vote on a recommendation to the council. If you remember, Chris Hurd, who's on the committee for Walkers of Welcome, sent two documents. One was a list of possible things that could be done, most of which we've looked at before, in fact, but that was a separate thing. But they also talked about setting up a traffic committee in the village. Now, we were absolutely certain on the panel that we weren't going to set that up. We've got a transport committee here already, but we were interested in the fact that if they did set it up, they could act more quickly than ourselves. They could hold public meetings. And what we would recommend is that if they set that committee up, that we do agree to send two councillors to those meetings. Nothing else, we're not responsible for the meetings, but that would enable us as a council to be informed what was happening, and also for those two councillors to explain the council's position. Now, that was a recommendation from the three of us that came out of the meeting.
Eva.
I'd like to go and be one of those councillors, please, if it's possible.
Right, Nick.
As it goes.
I'd also like to be one of them. A number of the things that they put on the recommendations, I know Dave suggested that they've been looked at before, and I know Eva from the letter she sent me said something similar, but I felt that a number of them were quite progressive ideas, which we could, I don't know about get behind, but certainly I thought that they were something which we could explore into improving the traffic flow in the village, pedestrian action, and also, as Eva's pointed out, get that road, Kinder Road, smoother. I thought they were quite intelligently put together points from Chris Hurd and Roy Lyons, which I think we could certainly make something from. I was quite sort of, I was quite not keen on them, but I thought that they had some grounds for discussion, certainly.
Dave Tuft.
Yeah, we need to be careful there, Mick. What we're suggesting is that we would go as delegates from the council.
Yeah,
So
I understand that, Dave, yeah.
we would not be saying, yeah, we like this, we like that. We'd have to go through the council for each of those things.
Yeah.
If the council didn't want that, you wouldn't be able to go and say you were in favour of it.
Oh, I
No.
understand that collective
Okay.
responsibility for sure,
So
yeah.
perhaps we could send three of us then who are from traffic. I was suggesting two, but
I think
Don't worry, Dave, I'm not going to go over there and say we support this, that and the other. I understand what you're
So
saying.
what was worrying me
Mr. Chairman?
was you were saying you were interested in those particular things, but it's what the council will decide that we will
Oh,
go.
I
Eva.
understand.
can
Eva.
I just pick up the point that if we're going there to listen,
Lost you,
Mike,
Eva.
we
We lost you a
cannot
bit there, Evie. We got to the, we are
Right.
going there
We
to
told
listen.
you that the other day. What? It's not our decision. It's the villagers, and there's 9 of us on the council, and we have to have different views. And you think we can change things at the drop of the hat? And we can't.
Okay.
Well, my proposal then is that we send the
Sorry?
three of us as delegates should that committee be formed.
And I will second that. All those in favour of that proposal? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Climate change emergency. We got the we've got the update. Mick, do you want to add anything further to that?
Well, yeah, we did send the update to all the councillors, keeping them abreast of what we've done. Thanks for the support that you've given us over the year. I just run through a few of the things that we've achieved. Some of them quite basic. A recycling bin in Andy's office has been put together. A recycling engineer has to be brought in to fit the actual heat pump, and that's going to be something which we'll get onto shortly. Andy also discovered that we had 2 meters in the office, and that's now been merged. And as soon as the contract runs out from the current supplier, we're going to investigate the possibility of taking on a more environmentally friendly energy company. The Allotment Society, as you know, have promoted a more sustainable way of operating. We had a good meeting with Pete Webb on this. Kath's group has planted 10 new trees in the Parish Council orchard. The solar farm, great that the Parish Council confirmed their support for the application. I understand it's hit 1 or 2 technical hitches today, but something that Andy's going to try and resolve. We've got the backing of 2 government statisticians, which is being paid for by a government department to try and work out where best we can improve our carbon footprint. They're going to have a look at all aspects, I think. 2 very, what seem very capable characters with me and Laurie James one day, and they are working on that now. The report back has been a little bit slow coming because of the current crisis. The Royal now has a recycling contract for commercial waste, and after the virus subsides, we're going to try and get other local businesses to possibly come on board with maybe some recycling, which they may already have already, but something which we can perhaps discuss. The walking bus, we had over 20 children using the walking bus when the water works were being repaired on Swallow House Lane. And I'd like to thank Lisa for storing the high visibility vests which we've introduced. I'm not claiming any credit, by the way, for the walking bus. It was set up by 2 parents at the school, but unfortunately, it did drop away slightly once those works were completed. And it's been difficult to encourage those parents back. Maybe that might change now in the current climate where people may start to use their cars a little bit less. I think that's about it. Yeah, apart from that, the contracts for groups who use Parish Council land, I know Dave mentioned that the Leisure and Tourism Group were going to be looking into this to possibly examine any of these contracts. You mentioned that, Dave, I think at the last meeting or the one prior to that, but I'm not sure how often the Leisure and Tourism Group actually meets, but something maybe we might consider resurrecting. But and also one other thing, very briefly, we're going to look ahead to try and be a little bit more specific going forward in the group and try and sort of maybe look at certain areas only that we can influence, maybe things like energy and offsetting, planting sphagnum moss and trees and things like that, maybe something we can have more influence on. So we're going to be more specific this year going forward. But group meets once every month. It's been a very lively and well-attended group. Myself from the council and sustainable with Laurie, Graham, and also Penny. So it's been going well, and I think we've had some minor successes over the year rather. I think we can improve on that in the coming year. Okay,
I know Steve wants to come in, but if I can just turn to Andy. Andy, Mick mentioned there the solar farm and 1 or 2 issues surrounding that. Where are we up to with that? I'm aware that there are issues. You've informed.
We can make a statement at this point, but we cannot debate because it wasn't on the agenda.
No.
The things have come to light that mean there's an awful lot of documents that are being looked through. To summarise, if you remember, we, the Parish Council, agreed to be the named applicant to the Rural Communities Energy Fund because we are an incorporated body. Because Sustainable Hayfield, with I think 6 days to go till the grant was considered, we only just became aware of that fact, and they would have failed without us. And you may remember the motion you passed was you agreed, but you wanted no further, you did not commit to anything else financially or otherwise. After this agenda went to light, it became apparent that it wasn't quite that simple, that the chosen contractor would need to sign a contract with ourselves. It was a standard contract, nothing wrong with the contract. At the same time, though, we, the main applicant, would have to sign the acceptance of the terms and conditions of the Rural Communities Energy Fund, which I'm sure you'll appreciate as your clerk, I don't have the authority to do so, and I would not do so until all these documents have been looked at in great detail. There was some pressure put on us as the contractors commenced work apparently on Monday. So the way we stand at the moment, we've asked for disclosure of all documentation, emails relating to terms, conditions, contracts, the tendering process to choose the consultant. Was it demonstrating best value for money? Did it grade, etc.? So we can't debate it, but looking at the documents on the council's behalf are myself, the chair, Tony Ashton, the last chair, the ex-chair, Dave Toft, who also had knowledge of it, and the chair of the finance committee. And it's only when we've looked at these documents in detail, and the chair, Councillor Ashton, has a chance, and ourselves have a chance to meet with Sustainable Hayfield and perhaps other parties to this project, will the chair decide whether we will call an extraordinary meeting to make motions and decisions in relation to this project, or it waits till July. It's not on the agenda, it's not up for discussion, but as soon as we feel we're in a position to show you everything we're looking at in any meaningful manner, we will do, because it's something for the entire council to think about and decide, not just me, the clerk, or a select number, which is a principle I have struggled slightly over the weekend to get through to people, that no, I can't just sign a piece of paper committing us to spending £40,000. But that was my delay, and the reason I can't really go into any more detail is it's not on the agenda. That is a simple statement of fact of where we are. Anything you'd like to add, Chair?
No, I think I was aware of all that, but I seized the opportunity to make sure that all members of the council were aware that there were issues and what those issues were. So I noticed that the 3 people have put that, 4 now have put their hands up. 5, all right, I'm not asking, I'll take them one at a time, but I don't wish to discuss where we're at and what's happening with that. Let's look at it first, but if there's anything else that people want to say that's succinct and to the point, Eva, you had your hand up some time ago.
Yeah, I only had my hand up because I disappeared and I didn't get the result of who's representing the council at the traffic.
Right, three of you are going as spectators, as it were. That's Mick,
Well,
Dave Toft, and yourself.
I
Kath, you're next.
That
Kath?
disappeared.
Sorry, am I next, do you say?
Yes, please.
Right, it was just a small point on the climate change report, mixed report. We did discuss, I think I discussed it with Mick, that it would be good to have a guest to the meetings, but I don't know how that would work remotely. Didn't you say that there was somebody that had a proposal for planting trees up near the football pitch?
Kath, can I just say, is that not a matter for them rather than from us?
I probably, yes. How to have a guest? Well, no, we did. I remember it was being discussed when we went on to Zoom meetings that we wouldn't be able to have any, what do you call them? What members of the public?
Present, yeah.
Things. Is that still the case?
Yeah, the public speaking and everything, which we've changed the standing orders for the time being.
Right, okay.
Okay, Dave Toft.
Yeah, it's not part of a discussion. You're quite right. We mustn't discuss this, but I do want to assure councillors that the council itself has done nothing except try and save the project for the solar panels. And if you remember, we were given to think that we would simply act as a bank. Money would be moved in and we would then be invoiced and move it out. So what has arisen is a complication not of our making at all. We rescued the bid in the first place with only 5 days to go. And we've then been put into a very awkward situation, which could make it look as if we were actually responsible for slowing the whole process down. We're not at all. We're moving as quickly as we possibly can within the legal structures that we work with. And we've put a lot of time into it, which was the sort of thing we wanted to avoid in actual fact.
Yeah, it's something that we must do because act as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
I'm supportive of the project. It's just that one or two hiccups.
Yeah.
Mick, are your hands still up? Or
No,
is that-
sorry, no.
Oh, okay, Jackie.
Yes, it's going back to Mick's report. I'm looking at the summary and 3.3, the Parish Council is requested to note and support this report and the continuing work of the working group. And I'd like to propose that.
Right. Okay, we'll come back to that. Dave Gates, you had your hand up.
A question to Andy about the statement you made, Chair, if possible. I thought this was about
yeah.
VAT.
Yeah, well, yeah, let's not go too deeply into detail, but carry on, Dave.
Okay. Simply a question about whether the VAT was issued.
No, VAT is a red herring. This is something I've been kicking myself about. I was made aware, only just made aware, on Thursday that the Rural Communities Energy Fund will supply the grant money without the VAT because they expect a parish council as the main applicant to carry out its VAT reclaiming function, which it can do. So that is another point for you to discover. Yes, work out the implications of that. It will come back, but it will be the same delay as anything that we pay VAT on. And those of you who regularly at this meeting will know I'm having a slight problem at the moment getting VAT 126 online. So it's weird. You pay the consultant in full, but the grant money is given to you without the VAT, which you then claim back from the government.
Okay.
Jackie.
Thanks, Chair.
Jackie?
Have we received any money into our bank account in respect of this grant? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Thank you for
3.3.
Yeah.
report. Now we had did we have a proposal from
me that we go along with that on the summary 3.3.
Second.
Right.
Second.
Okay, and you're seconding that, are you, Dave? Dave Toft. All those in favour? That's unanimous then. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Are there any more reports? Are we about done? There's nothing about Arden Quarry. I have got a name for Andy, which I will let you have. Is there anything else?
Tony?
Yes, Mick.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, on the Arden Quarry thing, I seem to recall that we wanted to invite the Environment Agency to the Parish Council meeting to discuss how effective they're going to be in the future at keeping an eye on the smell and the mess that's made up there. I think we put it to a motion, but I can't remember. Andy was going to write to them. I don't know if is that correct, Andy? Or is my...
Can I just jump in there, Mick? Yes, it is correct. And I was going to let Andy have the name. I haven't let Andy have the name, so that is my fault. We will invite the Environment Agency. We'll invite the Environment Agency, but I wouldn't hold your breath that they'll come. We have liaison meetings every few months with the quarry. Derbyshire County Council fairly often attend, and the Environment Agency I can't remember the last time they attended, certainly not in the last 2 years. But I do have a name. I complained about the state of the road to the Environment Agency. I'm guessing, I would say about 6 or 7 weeks ago, and I've not had a reply from them. So not had a reply from Derbyshire County Council either, but you know, the Environment Agency are hopeless. Lisa, you've got your hand up.
Well, they can't attend anyway at the moment, so we need to wait.
Yeah,
Just
but
have
it
that
doesn't
discussion.
stop us inviting them at the moment, does it? And you know, hopefully, well, I think we should contact them anyway, express and then invite them. That I think would be the way around it, just to put a little bit more pressure on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Move on to finance and accounts for payments. We've had the detail. Andy, is there anything that you want to add to that?
I just wanted to ask you to note the April finance report, which was very simply that we started the month with £80,651.70. We received £48,115.17, mostly from half of the precept and the council tax support and from the parish grant, and we made £5,848 payments. We closed the month with £122,918.33. And I'll just ask you to note those figures, and also could you note the payments that were authorised and made by the Finance Committee in May. That's 22A and B.
Okay, unless anyone's got anything to say, can I have a proposer?
Sorry,
Kath.
can I just clarify? The invoices are ready for signing off, are they, in the office, Andy?
Yeah,
I go over.
Yeah, you'll find both the bank statements to check that the invoices you authorised paid went out, and you need to check that the physical invoices match the check sheet as you would at a normal finance meeting.
Yeah.
You'll be on your own. It's in the blue folder.
Right, yes. So I can go over in the morning and do those. Yeah,
Blue folder,
right, smashing.
two functions.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Okay.
Chair.
No, it's fine. Anything else? Well, can I have a proposer then if there's nothing else? Dave Toft, seconded Jackie. All in favour? Okay, that's great. And sorry, Andy.
This is the legal bit. We have to do it under 2 separate minutes. You've all received the AGAR copies of Section 1, the Annual Governance Statement 2019-2020, where you make a statement regarding your sound system of internal control. And that's where you're going to be sending to the external auditors, and ask you to look at that viewpoint and take a vote under minute 22C that you approve that governance statement, and then the chair will sign it in our presence. Chair, could you take that vote?
I will take that vote. Nobody anything to say? I'll take it. Oh,
No.
okay. So the proposal is that I sign the AGAR report and needs a signature in 2 places. Andy's brought it up to my house. He's socially distanced, but he brought it up to my house. Okay. Can I have a proposal? I'm not going to propose it or second it. Thank you, Eva. Seconded, Jackie. All in favour that it's signed? Thank you. Right, on that basis, I don't know whether you can see my my signing it. Is it visible? No?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
your pen is.
Hold it
Yeah.
up.
On camera?
Yeah.
Okay, I've signed those.
The next bit is Section 2 of the Accounting Statements 2019-20, which you've had a copy of. Those are my 2 contrasting year ends, and I'm asking the council to approve the 2019-2020 accounts as sent to you, and the original is with the chair for signing now. I have signed them, which to say that that they are accurate, and yeah.
Can I have a proposer? Yeah, a seconder. All in favour? Okay, and I'll sign that. That's great. Okay, is there anything else, Andy?
Yeah, now we have some payments to be made this evening, but they require authorising now. You will have received the images of all the invoices. I'll take you through them and the justification. Back 708 Cayman Company. This is a retrospective insurance approval, as without paying it already, we would be uninsured. And that breach of the law is a bit more important than getting this authority. But it still needs a retrospective approval. BHIB, I haven't paid this yet, but, oh, sorry, that's for paying tonight. This is the allotments insurance, hasn't run out yet. That's good value, that's hardly changed. Back 710, Mark Warren Textiles. This is the resolution you made at the last meeting to make up to £250 payments to help the Hayfield sewers. As you can see, the actual payment will actually be in the end £208. As we've bought the materials, it's us who are claiming the VAT. It's not them. The lastly is a long-standing, this is under other works and looking after the repairs of the building. Andy Orme, the electrician, has worked on the electric supply works to the office and repair work to the cenotaph or War Memorials electrics. And again, justified under budgeted other works. And lastly, the Wildabout Gardens, you'll see this has been claimed on an expenses claim because we have 3 invoices from various plant suppliers. And although this is clearly under the original £1,000 authorised, when we add this to DJ Ross's bill, we may go 1,100. But this is, again, from the authorisation from last month to spend on summer planting. So I'd ask you now to authorise all those payments. And once done, I know Councillor Wilson will complete the physical payment after this meeting, but I would ask one other councillor to state they will complete the physical payment at the close of the meeting. I'm looking at Councillor Hughes here because she's very good at that.
No.
Would you consider?
I'll have to go and get me signing in things.
Not now, Kath. Kath, after the meeting.
All right.
Sit down. Sit down. All I'm asking you, Chair, is to authorise those payments, and again, they will be checked. The actual physical invoices will be checked against payments by some brave councillor who goes to the office after the finance meeting of 2 weeks' time.
Okay, so that's the proposal. Does anybody any comments? No. Okay, will somebody propose then? Dave Toft, Jackie Wilson,
I'll propose.
All those in favour? Thank you. That's carried unanimously. So that's the payments as detailed there. I think that just leaves us the confirm the date of the next meeting.
1st of July.
1st of July. Okay, and with that, so an hour and 22 minutes in, according to my little clock. I think we're finished. Thank you very much, everybody, for your patience.
Thank you, Tony.
Good night.
Okay, I tell you what, all the best.
Cheers, Tony.
Thank you.
See you, Jackie. See you later.
Cheers.